They told you this was too complicated. They said digital assets were a passing trend. They said the government would never get serious about crypto. They said the rules would never come. They looked at the people who stayed patient, the ones who kept watching, kept learning, kept waiting, and they called them naive. Good, because right now, in a single week, the ground beneath the entire financial world just shifted. Not once, not twice, 3 times. And most people are going to wake up tomorrow without knowing any of it happened. Let's start with something that doesn't get nearly enough attention, and it should terrify and excite you at the same time. President Trump just signed 2 executive orders on quantum computing, and one of them moved the federal post-quantum cryptography deadline forward to 2031, 4 years earlier than previously planned. Read that again, 4 years earlier. When a government moves a deadline 4 years earlier, it isn't doing it out of caution. It's doing it because the threat is real, it is close, and the people in the room know something the public doesn't fully understand yet. Here's why this matters for every person holding digital assets. Bitcoin ownership depends on cryptographic signatures, the same mathematical locks that protect wallets and transactions today. And a May 2026 report warned that Q-Day, Quantum Day, the moment when a quantum computer becomes powerful enough to break those locks, could arrive as early as 2030, with up to 7 million Bitcoin potentially at risk if the crypto ecosystem fails to upgrade in time. 7 million Bitcoin. The US government just told the world that 2031 is the hard line, not a suggestion, a directive. Federal agencies must transition critical systems to post-quantum security by that date. President Trump said it plainly. America is going to invest in quantum leadership like never before. The second executive order specifically directs federal agencies to begin transitioning to quantum cryptography. The clock is running. This is not background noise. This is the signal. Now let's talk about something that has been building for months and just took its most important step forward yet. The Clarity Act is moving in July. Senator Cynthia Lumis confirmed it herself. After thousands of hours of negotiation, the bill text will be released over the July 4th period, giving the public one final thorough look before the Senate moves forward. And Senator Bill Hagerty backed that timeline. End of July is the target. Senator Tim Scott aligned with the same window before the August recess. 3 senators, 1 timeline. July. Senator Hagerty put it in words that deserve to be repeated. The Clarity Act is creating the type of certainty necessary to bring the entire digital asset framework into full-blown opportunity in America. He pointed to the Genius Act, which he authored, as the foundation that made America a player in digital payments. A reserve digital dollar, backed dollar for dollar by short-term U.S. Treasury securities. And now the Clarity Act takes the next step. Broader digital asset rules, broader innovation, broader protection. Senator Tim Scott said something even more direct. JP Morgan is now getting involved in stablecoins. Every single industry will want to be part of digital assets, including banks. The question now is only about setting the rules of the road, protecting consumers, making business cheaper, making it run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Blockchain and digital assets get us there faster. It's coming. Period. Now here is where the math matters, because this vote isn't guaranteed yet. In the Senate, 60 votes are needed on the floor. There are 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats. Every Republican vote is needed. Then at least 7 Democratic votes must cross the aisle. 2 Democrats already voted in a bipartisan way to move the bill out of the Senate Banking Committee. Senator Angela Alsobrooks from Maryland and Senator Ruben Gallego from Arizona. Both have made clear that certain ethics provisions need to be addressed before their full floor vote. That's a known condition. That's manageable. 5 more Democrats are needed. The most likely? Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, who has already been deeply involved in shaping the bill, Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia, Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey, and Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware. 5 senators, 1 bill, 1 July window. This is how close we are. This isn't a dream. This is arithmetic. And while that legislation builds momentum, let's talk about what just happened in the background of all of it. The U.S. Senate passed a bipartisan bill blocking a U.S. central bank digital currency through 2030, embedded inside the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, with an overwhelming 85-5 vote. An 85-5 vote on anything in Washington is almost unheard of. And the temporary ban runs until 2030. Not forever, until 2030. Windows don't open by accident. Dates don't get written into legislation randomly. If the ban runs until 2030 and post-quantum cryptography deadlines land in 2031, you start to see the outline of a timeline taking shape. A wholesale central bank digital currency, not retail-facing, not in your pocket, but operating at the institutional level, begins to look less like speculation and more like architecture. Ripple Prime is already licensed to serve globally, systemically important banks through the DTC infrastructure. The DTC settles close to $4 quadrillion. RLUSD, Ripple's stablecoin, is already being integrated as a settlement layer and collateral asset across institutional venues. Mike Higgins, CEO of Ripple Prime, has spoken confidently about the growth trajectory. The chart is up and to the right. The math is speaking for itself. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, stablecoins, real-world assets moving on-chain before 2030. That is the mission, and the people building it aren't slowing down. Now let's talk about NASDAQ, because this is the moment that quietly changed the conversation. NASDAQ described the top performers from the Coindesk 20 index, which ended the year up 88%, and named the assets that landed on nobody's bingo card. Ripple, Stellar, HAR. The names that caused excitement early in the cycle switched places with names no analyst had circled in their forecasts. Ripple, on NASDAQ's list, named as a winner that wasn't expected. When NASDAQ says Ripple, they mean XRP. When they say Stellar, they mean XLM. These are not abstract references. These are institutional platforms acknowledging, publicly, that these assets outperformed in ways that couldn't be predicted, and in doing so, providing a launch pad for what comes next. And then the news that may be the most globally significant development of all. Ripple has secured its preliminary MiCA license, the CASP approval, from Luxembourg's CSSF, the Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier. This is not a small market approval. This is the gateway to 30 countries across the European Union, the entire continent. MiCA is considered the gold standard of crypto regulation. A preliminary green light from European regulators means Ripple met their main requirements. It means regulated crypto payments are coming. It means Ripple can now offer its financial infrastructure, including RLUSD, to European banks and businesses, allowing compliant cross-border money movement at scale. And here is what makes the timing impossible to ignore. MiCA regulations go fully live on July 1st, 2026. The transitional grandfathering period ends. Europe doesn't wait. Europe goes live. America has a 5 to 6 week window to get the Clarity Act done before the August recess, before Europe moves ahead and the innovation gap widens into something that cannot be closed quickly. Senator Lumis said it herself. America didn't build the Internet of Information only to hand the lead to other nations. The Telecommunications Act created the Facebooks and Googles of the world. This is that same moment, the same fork in the road, the same choice. The orders are being signed, the votes are being counted, the licenses are being granted, the rails are being built, one decision at a time, one senator at a time, one regulatory approval at a time. The people who recognize this moment before it becomes a headline aren't the loudest voices in the room. They are the ones who looked at what was being assembled, quietly, methodically, without fanfare, and understood what it was becoming before the rest of the world caught up. One day this will all be called obvious. People will say they always knew. They will forget the weeks of uncertainty, the noise, the doubt, but you'll remember. Because you were here when the pieces were still being placed, before the picture was finished. This is not financial advice. This is perspective on what is being built, what is being said publicly, and what the architecture of tomorrow's financial world is beginning to look like right now. If this resonated with you, if you felt even a fraction of the weight of what we covered today, then stay. Hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment, not for the algorithm, because this conversation is worth having, and every person in it makes the picture clearer for everyone else. History is being written right now. Make sure you were paying attention while the ink was still wet.